you.
Spanish?
Yeah, how'd you know?
I just happened to see.
Cabrera.
I forgot what your name was before because oh yeah, this is the day they signed the
Veterans Day.
This is the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month.
Okay, your D-O-R.
O-T-H-E-A.
Now,
P-U-E-N-T-E.
With her chiffon dresses, thick-rimmed glasses, gray hair, and litter of kittens. Dorothea Puente looked like a sweet old lady, even insisting to some, "Call me grand," but looks can be extremely deceiving. And in this case, the innocuous landlady was actually a terrifying serial killer who committed at least 9 murders inside her boarding house in Sacramento, California throughout the 1980s. Puente was born Dorothea Helen Gray on January 9, 1929, in Redlands, California, to Trudy Mae Yates and Jesse James Gray. Her parents were both alcoholics, and her father repeatedly threatened to kill himself in front of his children. Her father died of tuberculosis in 1937. Her mother, who worked as a sex worker, lost custody of her children in 1938 and died in a motorcycle accident by the end of the year. Puente and her siblings were subsequently sent to an orphanage where she was sexually abused. Gray's first marriage at age 16 in 1945 was to a soldier named Fred McFall, who had just returned from the Pacific Theater of World War II. They had 2 daughters between 1946 and 1948. Gray sent one child to live with relatives in Sacramento and placed the other for adoption. She also suffered a miscarriage, and Foe left her in late 1948. In the spring of 1948, Gray was arrested for purchasing women's accessories using forged checks in Riverside. She pled guilty to 2 counts of forgery, serving 4 months in jail and 3 years probation. 6 months after her release, she left Riverside. In 1952, Gray married merchant seaman Axel Brand Johansson in San Francisco. She created a fake persona calling herself Taya Singawala Nearda, a Muslim woman of Egyptian and Israeli descent. They had a turbulent marriage. Gray took advantage of Johansson's frequent trips to sea by inviting men to their home and gambling away his money. Gray was arrested in 1960 for owning and operating a bookkeeping firm as a front for a brothel in Sacramento. She was found guilty and was sentenced to 90 days in the Sacramento County Jail. In 1961, Johansson had Gray briefly committed to DeWitt State Hospital after a binge of drinking, lying, criminal behavior, and suicide attempts. While there, doctors diagnosed her as a pathological liar with an unstable personality. Following that, she started to get involved in miscellaneous illegal acts that over time became more serious. This activity slowed down a great deal when she found work as a nurse's aide, caring for disabled and elderly people in private homes. In a short time, she started to manage boarding houses. She divorced Johansson in 1966 and married Roberto Puente in Mexico City, a man who was 19 years her junior. Roberto had trouble staying faithful to Dorothea, and the marriage only lasted 2 years. Shortly before the end of the marriage, however, Dorothea Puente took over a 3-story, 16-bedroom care home at 2100 Aviv Street in Sacramento, California. There she provided care and comfort to the homeless and destitute of the area. The first sign of something wrong was when neighbors noticed the odd activities of a homeless, alcoholic man known only as Chief, whom Puente stated she had adopted and made her handyman. Puente had Chief dig in the basement and cart soil and rubbish away in a wheelbarrow. The basement floor was then covered with a concrete slab. Chief later took down a garage in the backyard and installed a fresh concrete slab there as well. Soon afterward, Chief mysteriously disappeared. Puente married for the 3rd time in 1976 to a Pedro Montalvo, who was a physically abusive alcoholic. The marriage only lasted a few months, and Puente started to spend time in local bars looking for older men who were receiving benefits. She forged their signatures to steal their money, but she eventually was caught and charged with 34 counts of treasury fraud. While on probation, she continued to commit the same fraud.
Now, the questions we need to ask you, I need all the truth from you, okay? Number one is, going back, of course, you know how this whole thing got started. was because of this last individual,
Right.
Montoya.
In 1981, Puente began renting an upstairs apartment at 14252 F Street in downtown Sacramento. In 1988, when Judy, a now retired social worker, was helping Alvaro Bert Gonzalez Montoya, a man who was diagnosed with schizophrenia, find a home in Sacramento, California.
When you took the Mellaril that the doctor gave you, did the voice go away? The voices that talked to you, did they go away that time with the medicine?
No, they ain't go away.
They didn't go away. Well, if we could find a good boarding house for you, would you prefer to go there? Okay, we'll try and do that.
She came upon a boarding house run by Dorothea Puente. She seemed so sweet. She had a box of kittens, and she had little bottles of milk that she was feeding them. Judy says we were impressed. We were thinking, she is nice. Puente told Judy that she was independently wealthy and simply liked helping people. Puente's boarding house came well recommended, and it seemed as if Bert would be in good hands. The landlord had a reputation for taking in boarders with mental disabilities or alcoholism and giving them a safe place to stay while they paid her rent out of Social Security checks. Judy became alarmed when she checked on Bert a few months later, and Puente told her an improbable-sounding story that he had traveled to Mexico. When Judy followed up and checked in with John Sharp, another boarder in the house, and asked if something was wrong there, Judy recalled. He said, "Yeah, something is wrong here. She's been digging a lot of holes." Moises got suspicious and filed a missing person report on November 7, 1988.
Now, his disappearance is very suspicious. I can tell you that. Even the things that you said didn't even quite connect with what the other individual told us when she spoke to you. There were a lot of inconsistencies in your statement.
Well, you know, I didn't think I was ever going to have to remember everything. And
that's fine. I mean, I can understand that, and you explained that to us. But there's just a lot of inconsistencies. Also,
if they get in touch with you, I mean, wouldn't that...
I'd have to physically see.
Right, right.
Now, as far as the social worker, he had no relatives known to her and never mentioned of any. But he had mentioned at one time that he wanted to move from your place. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to stay there anymore. And then we talked to Mr. Sharp. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Sharp says he hasn't seen him for 3 months. But you said the other day.
Yeah,
and the social worker hasn't seen him. So who is lying to me? Who is lying to me, Dorothea?
Well, I'm not. He was there Saturday and Sunday.
How can Mr. Sharp...
Well, he doesn't even associate with the other people.
Mr. Sharp also told us that you had told him to lie.
After missing persons report was filed, police went to the Dorothea's house, where they were met with the same answer that Alvaro was on holiday. But John slipped them a message. "She's making me lie for her."
I did not.
About saying that he was there, because he later told us that you told him to lie.
Now, when was the last time you saw Mr. Montoya?
Bert?
Bert.
I saw him Sunday.
Okay.
About noon.
Now, Mr. Sharp says that he hasn't seen him for 3 months.
Well,
2.5 maybe.
Mr. Sharp sits down in his little room down there.
But he would know, because I watch how all you guys congregate, and in and out. Everybody knows when somebody is not.
No, the only reason I was out and not in my room was because you came over, and I was just showing that guy what wood she wanted sawed up, for her nephew's fireplace, and that's all. That's the only reason I was downstairs at all.
Mr. Sharp says that Ben was missing the same time as Montoya.
Now, Ben, do you remember Ben? The Indian? Eskimo?
An Eskimo?
Or Indian or whatever?
Eskimo, Indian? There's never been an Eskimo or an Indian there, but I know.
Well, his name was Ben. Maybe he's Mexican Indian. I don't know. Mestizo, it's hard to...
I don't know most of these guys' names because they're not there very long.
Okay. Well, Dorothea says Ben was there for 2 months.
On March 9, 1988, Sacramento social worker Peggy Nickerson placed Benjamin Fink, a 55-year-old chronic alcoholic, at 1426 F Street. Fink would eat communal meals with the other boarders, but otherwise kept to himself. From years of living on the street, Fink had developed a number of health issues, including pneumonia and mobility problems from a car accident requiring him to use a cane. Fink often appeared in emergency rooms to get treatment for injuries he suffered while heavily intoxicated. On other occasions, he would check out of the hospital against the doctor's wishes. Just days before he was placed at Puente's home, Fink had been disqualified as a plasma donor, which had been a source of income for him on account of general feebleness. She would often confine Fink to be dressed with as little as a runny nose, and, against her own rules, would bring meals to his room, leaving her free to drug his food and drink without suspicion. Fink lived at the boarding home for nearly 2 months, and his brother visited with him most weeks. One day, while Fink was heavily intoxicated at the residence, Puente said that she was going to take Ben upstairs and make him feel better. It was the last time anybody saw Fink alive. A few days after Puente helped Fink upstairs, a tenant complained to Puente of a horrific odor, which was described as the smell of death coming from a room off the kitchen. Puente brushed it off, saying the sewer had backed up. She would later tell boarders that, eventually, Fink had moved back to his family's home in nearby Marysville after she told him not to ever come back on the property because she couldn't take his falling down drinking anymore. Nobody pressed the matter further because individuals with the kinds of problems Fink had picked up and left all the time, and Puente was banking on those assumptions. For months after his disappearance, Puente forged the signature on Fink's Social Security checks and collected other benefits in his name. More than $6,000 in total.
The thing that doesn't make sense, Mr. McCauley, is the fact that I've got 2 people that say they haven't seen Mr. Montoya. That was the one social worker who kept in good contact with him. He'd gone over to detox and said, I don't want to live at Dorothea's anymore. She's been trying to get a hold of him all this time to where she said, wait a minute, nothing seems right. Something is definitely wrong. He never told her about relatives or anybody. He's from Costa Rica. My question...
He told me that he wanted to go home to Costa Rica.
But he was mentally ill. How could he? He couldn't even do anything, let alone... Even the social worker says this guy couldn't even... He didn't know how to do anything, let alone get on a bus and go anywhere. That whole thing about Mexico, that's a crock of shit.
Well,
that is a crock of garbage.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Because I didn't see him leave that time.
The social worker says she was in contact with Montoya up till about 3 months ago.
Okay.
And she says she has not heard hide nor hair from him.
Well, he really didn't want to see them.
But he'd attempted to, he went to detox on an occasion.
Twice.
Yeah, and he told him at detox, take me out of your home. I don't want to live there. And the social worker was on very good terms with him, to where she was...
Yes,
right, and when he all of a sudden disappeared, she started thinking, what the heck's going on here? And then she got the inconsistent things about, you tell me that the guy was from, you didn't know where he went, and then she got a phone call and she says that you told her he went to Utah. I mean, there's a lot of things, Dorothea, that I don't understand.
I don't know where the man was going to take him.
Okay, but I mean, there's a lot, you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of inconsistencies there. Okay. And it can't explain his disappearance. It can't.
On November 11, 1988, a detective returned to Puente's residence and, with her permission, began digging in areas that appeared to be recently disturbed. 30 minutes later, he discovered the first body.
The other problem is this. You know, we go and talk to you. You're real good about it. And then we ask you for permission. Mm-hmm. You didn't even have to give us permission to look, but you were cooperating. You said, sure. You gave us permission to dig around in the yard and look around. And then we dig, and lo and behold, we find what looks like the remains of a human being, clothing and all.
But if it was Alvaro, burnt.
No, I don't think it's Alvaro. I don't think Alvaro, if it was in the ground, would be that decayed, to be truthful with you. Or Ben Fink.
I'm going to ask you again, do you know anything about that body in the backyard, or do you know anything about any other bodies in the backyard? Now, the bottom line is this, Mr. McCauley. I believe there are other bodies in the backyard.
You do?
Yes.
I don't see how they could have got there.
Well,
But the
just
thing
like
is,
this one here, I'm hearing the same
well,
thing.
yeah, that's. I mean, you know, I had no idea there was any kind of a body back there.
All right.
Okay. And that is, Mr. Montoya is dead.
No, he's not.
Okay, Miss that. I'm just saying. I'm trying to surmise this, and then we'll try to clear this up. That he is dead, and that either John McCauley or what is it, Mervyn
John. No.
either killed him, or that maybe he met foul play by your hands. That's my alternatives. I don't know. But my other alternative is that the fact that somewhere in that backyard, Dorothea, that he's lying, maybe along with other people.
No.
Okay? And I'm also going to tell you that we had this same information a year ago. A year ago? Yes.
Let me ask you this then, point blank.
Sure.
Did you kill anybody on those premises?
No.
Okay. Number
And
two.
I don't know of anybody having been killed on those premises.
Okay, and you've
either.
never assisted anybody in any
Oh,
form or way,
way.
nor have you ever dug a hole to allow a body to be
No,
placed in.
any hole I dug wouldn't cover it.
Nor do you have any knowledge of anybody
I have
being
no
there.
knowledge of whatsoever of
And
anybody ever being.
and you swear that the last
I
time you
swear.
saw Mr. Montoya was Sunday.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Okay.
My bottom line is what I'm truly asking you, Dorothea.
Sir, I have never killed anybody.
Maybe not you, but how about Mr. McCauley?
But you know nothing. You know nothing about it.
I have no knowledge of anybody bearing anybody.
Okay.
What reason would he have to kill anybody?
Well, I know we're going to find out if about the checks, okay, the Social Security checks. And I know that you're past, that you've been in some trouble with, okay? And I remember when you were arrested and you were in the beat.
Do that. I admitted to that to get the trial over with.
Okay, but you still were convicted of it and sentenced to it.
Right.
Okay. The similarities are there. The only thing that's different now is the fact, rather than take something and let it go, you get rid of them, and nothing's ever found. Now here's a man from Costa Rica or Timbuktu that really nobody cares about. Just like, just like Mr. Kelly said. He says, hey, when you're nobody, you're nobody. Nobody cares. So you disappear. You're a transient, or you're a bum, or you're an alcoholic.
I cared
a lot
for
of people
him.
think nobody ever cares.
I cared for him. I bought him clothes. I treated him very, very good.
And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, I dig up a body in your backyard.
I don't know anything. I didn't even see the body.
It may be. And you may be. That may be true. That's why I'm asking you. I'm appealing to you. Dorothea,
Sir, I don't know anything
I'm going to
about
ask you right now again. Are there any other bodies
No.
in your backyard?
Not that I didn't even know that one was there.
Did Mr. McCauley put any other bodies in the backyard?
Yes, Mr. McCauley did.
Okay. And I intend to. Okay.
Yes.
And that's why I'm asking you. Because if it has to be said, I want it said right now. Let's clear it up. Let's not get into something that maybe isn't there. I want to know. I want you to be truthful with me.
Sir, I didn't even know that body was there.
Okay.
If I had it, I would have said, no, don't search the yard, you know. But I had nothing to hide. I don't want to go back to prison.
Well, I realize that.
I'm an old lady.
I realize that too.
I'm trying to get off parole. I'm trying to get my life together.
Dorothea, I know if we dig, we're going to find more. I know that. I know that.
Well, I didn't put them there. I couldn't drag a body any place.
I believe that. But I believe there's somebody else involved here. Somebody else. Because here's people that are still getting checks and they haven't even been seen. Hiding her hair, Dorothea. You have to look at it from my view, dear. I look at it and I think nothing makes sense. This is absolutely
Sir,
goofy.
I have not killed anybody.
Maybe you didn't kill anybody. That may be true. But maybe you know what really happened.
No, I don't.
I think you know about Mr. Montoya, because Mr. Montoya is not in Costa Rica. Mr. Montoya is not in Utah.
Rica.
Where is he? He's in that backyard, I believe, Dorothea. He is in that backyard, or he's been disposed of some other manner.
Not by me.
Then by Mr. Macaulay.
I don't.
Dorothea, I'm asking you.
I don't know.
Asking you,
I don't
Dorothea.
know. I don't
I
think
want to
John
know what
could
you
do
know.
it.
I want to know what you know. You know, you are the leader of the house. You have the background. Okay? You've been there before. You know what I'm talking about.
I have never killed anybody in my life.
Then who did kill somebody? Mr. Macaulay?
I don't know.
Tell me now.
I don't know. Sir.
Tell me now,
I don't
Dorothy.
know.
How do you explain the body in the backyard?
I don't
2.5 feet down.
I don't
with
know.
clothing
I
and
don't
everything
know.
with it. How?
When you find out how old it is and see that I didn't have anything to do with that,
What if it's only a year old? What if it's 2 years old? What if it goes back and it's going to be in between that 1978 and 1982? How are you going to explain that? It isn't old enough that it's already, the bones are disintegrating. I can tell you. It looked like there's flesh still
I
there.
didn't know bones disintegrated.
You know, that's what I'm trying to say. Then what are you going to tell me? If I say, hey, they say me at the max, maybe at that time zone where you were there. How do you explain that? Somebody snuck in your backyard and put a human body in and buried it?
There wasn't other people living there. There was 2 other families that lived downstairs.
But you know what goes on in that residence. You are the keeper of the house.
And
You are the keeper of the yard.
8 o'clock at night, sometimes 9 o'clock, sometimes 7:30.
Dorothea,
Do you really think I'm guilty?
you want me to be truthful with you?
Yes.
I'm going to be real truthful with you. Dorothea, I think you had, somehow you're involved in it. It may not have been by your hand, but it's by somebody's hand. And I think you are very, very frightened right now. You're looking and you don't know what to think. And it's not just because you've had any prior background, because there's been a lot of people. I mean, most of the people we talk to all the time, so I understand that point. But the problem is, I think what you realize is this whole thing is up. I think you realize that whatever has been going on is up. It's over. Because we are going to uncover that yard. And you've lived there. And that's why, Dorothy, I'm saying right now, this whole thing is up. These people have been missing, and you can't even explain why. And then when you tell me it's something that is totally different than what I know. Why? Am I wrong? Am I lying?
I haven't killed anyone.
Then what happened there?
My conscience is not bothering me. When I confessed to my other stuff and went to prison for it, I was glad to get it off my conscience.
And that's why you'll never rest, and you have no intention of going back to prison. I know that. And I don't know if you would honestly tell me. I don't know right now if you would tell me that if you did,
yes, I would.
you would tell me.
Yes, I would.
I don't know. I think
because I can't take the pressure and stuff.
Well, if you didn't, somebody else did. And the only other person that I can say that has remarkably been around when these guys have disappeared, and that's Mr. Macaulay.
Well, question Mr. Macaulay.
I am, but I think you might have knowledge. What I basically want to know from you is, where is Mr. Montoya? Where he really
right,
is.
Matter, I don't know.
And you said you saw him Sunday.
Yes, I did.
Okay. If there's something you got to say, or if you're protecting somebody, or
I'm
you
not
feel
protecting.
fond, or you don't want to turn them in, or you know something, tell me now. Get it out. Get it out. We'll discuss it. There may be some reason. There may be
There's
something
no reason.
logical. The only thing is, right now, we got somebody sitting out in that hole, and we don't know who it is.
I don't know who it is. I didn't go out there and look. I sat right
Yeah.
in my kitchen where I said I'll sit right here. The only thing I did was to go put a dress on because I didn't want to be running around with my night clothes on.
I don't blame you.
It was a holiday. I didn't expect anybody, and
Okay. You now try to think while I'm not here a few minutes. Just try to, if anything comes to mind, let me know. Because that's why I'm here. I need to know. I need questions answered, Dorothea. Okay.
okay, would you
And
set
I
up the
try
night?
to look you straight in the eye.
Well, I'm
because
trying to look at you too, but they
I
say
want the truth.
But they say if you keep looking at somebody, you're telling a lie.
No, because when you look at me, I'm looking at your eyes. I'm watching you. I'm trying to extract right out of you. I want the truth out of you. I'm trying to extract that. And by looking in your eyes, I'm looking into your soul.
I wish Mr. Montoya would show up right now.
I just don't think he's going to.
He is. He is. I believe in God, and I know he's going to show up.
How about Ben Fink?
Mr. Fink, I haven't seen him since the day I told him to move because I couldn't take his falling down and drinking anymore.
Okay. One thing I need to ask you is, we'd like to dig some more, okay? Mm-hmm. And that might entail digging up that concrete where those flowers are.
That's okay.
Okay. Do you have any problem with us digging, or?
No.
None whatsoever? Okay. Because you don't have to let us.
Look, I want to get this over with.
Okay. What else? How do you get a hold of your nephew? How can we get a hold of him also?
Ricardo Orderica. He works at the Clarion.
Clarion Hotel?
But he's not there right now.
How about a home phone or anything?
428. Just a minute. (428-1471).
1471. Okay. His name is Ricardo. Okay. I'll talk with John and enlighten us into a couple other areas. Okay, but basically that's what we want to do. And if there is, like I said, if there is a point where everything has to be replaced and everything, I think the city will bear that burden of taking care of that. But I'd like to get a hold of Ricardo and advise him also what we'd like to do to the property and see if that's okay with him.
It's okay because he let me put it up. I paid for all of that.
Okay, all that concrete and shed and... Okay.
Because I didn't have enough storage space, you know. And I just can't do the yard work anymore.
Okay. All right.
Are you going to let me go, or do I have to stay here?
No, more than likely. We'll let you take on back. We'll furnish you some ride.
Okay. Now, as I told you, your property there...
1426
F Street. We got information that there was a body buried back there.
Really? Oh, my God.
And so we asked Dorothea if we could look around.
I went to her.
And she let us look around. We dug a hole, and we did find a body.
Oh.
We have a body buried back. Now, she poured some cement here, too. In here. We think there might be something buried under here.
Oh, no.
Because we know there was a hole dug here. And then it was filled over, and then they poured concrete over it.
Really? Yeah, she asked me to put cement, you know. She asked me, oh yeah, do whatever you want. I'm writing to you and see.
Did she ever have anybody living with her there?
Yes, somebody to help her. Yeah, a Mexican American man. He was doing remodeling the house inside, upstairs, putting paneling. What is the name of it? No, I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was after she got back out of prison?
Yeah, he was living with her and helping her.
In November 1985, Puente hired Ismael Flores to install some wood paneling in her apartment. For his labor and an additional $800, Puente gave him a red 1980 Ford pickup in good condition, which she stated belonged to her boyfriend in Los Angeles who did not need it. Dorothea Puente then asked Flores to do one more thing. Build a box 6 feet by 3 feet by 2 feet to store books and other items. She then asked Flores to transport the filled and nailed shut box to a storage depot. Flores agreed, and Puente joined him. On the way, however, she told him to stop while they were on Garden Highway in Sutter County and dump the box on the riverbank in an unofficial household dumping site. Puzzled, Flores questioned why, but Puente told him that the contents of the box were just junk. On January 1, 1986, a fisherman spotted the box sitting about 3 feet from the bank of the river and informed police. Investigators found a badly decomposed and unidentifiable body of an elderly man inside.
Yeah. What we need or would like, Ricardo, is your permission for us to dig some more back there. We would like you to say it's okay for us to do that.
To me, it's okay. But I'm afraid I never been in this kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But you have my permit to dig in anywhere do you want.
Yeah.
I rent to her. I don't have nothing to
hide.
Because.
Well, we're not saying she has anything at all to do with this. We're not accusing her. No, we're not accusing her. In fact, she's home. If we were accusing her, she'd be arrested or something. But we have, like I say, we have found a human body here. And so now that we have, we've got to look more. Because we feel there may be more people buried. There may not be, but we have to look.
Yeah, you see.
And that's why we want, since it's your property, we'd like to get your permission too, even though she's renting it and she said, yes, we can rent it, we can dig there. We just wanted to get your permission too.
Oh, yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, she doesn't have to allow us to search, and neither do you. If you don't want us to search, or if she didn't want us to search, or you didn't want to search, we'd have to get a search warrant before we could search, but... Yeah, I realize I've kind of thrown this on you all of a sudden, but it just happened today that we've got the information and went out and started digging a little bit.
Okay.
But the body has been there for a long time.
For a long time?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No.
So it may have been there before you even bought the house. We don't know.
Oh.
So, yeah. It could have been that long ago.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, could have been there before you even bought the house.
See?
What? Yeah. We're going to have... There's an anthropologist.
Anthropologist?
Yeah, the people that dig for old remains and stuff. They're going to come down probably tomorrow, and they will do the rest of the digging for us.
Okay.
And they'll be able to determine how old the skeleton is, how long it's been there and stuff. So, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll keep you advised so you can ease your mind a little bit. And,
thank you.
And I'll give you my card before you leave here.
Please.
Your first name is John. Sharp? Mm-hmm. S-H-R-P?
Yep.
How old are you?
64.
Okay. Now, let's go back up again and tell me when this whole thing started happening, when you said, let's go back to where you thought something was wrong, like you mentioned in there. Let's rehash over that.
Well, I thought something was wrong clear back last July.
Last July? Yeah. Of 87?
Yes, this year.
Last July of 88.
Yeah.
Okay, what made you think that?
I can't remember why I really got the feeling.
Did you feel uneasy, you mean?
Yeah, because I told this social worker from Camellia House, Camellia Center, that I had to get away from there because something was wrong in that house. That's when I know that's when she had bawled me out because I complained about this Indian wanting to.
Mm-hmm. That was Ben.
No,
that was.
Well, I know his name may have been Ben.
He was an Indian then.
Yeah, Indian or Eskimo. He's from Alaska.
Okay. She bawled you out
because I complained.
Because you were complaining about him.
Yeah,
okay.
About him wanting to beat up on me.
So you felt things weren't.
Things weren't right, and then
you felt very uneasy about everything.
And that's when I told the social worker I have to get out there because things weren't right. And then, I guess, again, I'm not definite on times. I just can't be, because nothing has been that important to me to to try to really remember. But it seemed to me like about 4 months.
4 months ago?
That Ben. Let's see, this is November. October, September, August. I'm trying to relate to when I got my SSI.
Think in terms of July 4th.
Well, that don't help, because I don't...
Oh, okay.
At that point, I was only looking forward to getting my SSI.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think if Ben was still there when I got my SSI. I don't think he was. So I'm sure it's been 4 months.
Okay, now tell me about when you last saw Ben. What was going on that led up to him disappearing?
Okay, well, last I saw him was...
And now Ben is a male white.
Probably in his 60s.
You don't know what his last name was?
I have no idea.
About 5'10", you say?
About 5'10".
About how much in weight?
160.
Okay. What color hair?
Hair, I don't know. I didn't pay attention to his eyes or anything.
Okay. Was he disabled in any way, or?
Supposedly, I don't really know.
Okay.
He was a drinker. Now, his brother was there to see him a couple times.
But you don't. Okay.
I don't know what his brother.
Does Fink sound like the right?
Well, it rings a bell of some kind, but I don't know what it was Ben. Like I say, I don't know anybody except for the first names.
Okay.
I've been there 11 months, and Homer, him and I were good friends, and I don't even know Homer's last name.
So you've been there a total of 11 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so you see Ben about 4 months ago, and what was the incident you see about?
Well, he got pretty drunk and was in his room next to mine. And I had mentioned to Dorothea then, I said, now you've got a true alcoholic on your hands. I said, he's going to be stealing your liquor upstairs, because, she's got all kinds of it. And she said, he's already stealing it. She said he stole about 3 bottles already. But anyway, he was in his room downstairs, and he just kept getting drunker and drunker. I guess he'd go out. I never paid that much attention to when he'd go out or anything, but I'd hear him, go out. And finally, after he's been there drunk about 4 days, she came down and said she's going to take him upstairs and get him feeling better. And that's the last I ever saw Ben.
Okay, and that was about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
She came down, you see him, did you see her take him out of the... Okay, she just said, I'm going to get Ben, take him upstairs, make him better.
Yeah, I never saw her take him up or anything like that. But she said she was...
Did you remember the next day of not seeing him?
Oh, yeah, I remember not seeing him the next day.
Did you ask about him?
No, oh no.
Okay.
She said she was going to take him upstairs. And like I say, you don't ask her questions unless you want to get in trouble.
Okay. So you didn't see him the next day. So then how many days later did you go up in the house and you started smelling this awful smell?
I'd say 4 days at the most.
4 days later?
Yeah.
You smelled what you thought was death.
Yeah.
Now, your prior experience led you to believe this.
Yeah.
What's your prior experience?
I worked for the Kansas City Mortuary Service.
So you're familiar, and you've gotten people with that smell. You're familiar with that smell. And when you went up there about 4 days later, and it was coming from that room off of the kitchen.
Yeah, you couldn't smell it any other place.
Right there was strongest.
Right there was strongest. You didn't smell it close to the bathroom. You didn't smell it in the hall. I mean, in the stairway. I didn't smell it in my room downstairs.
But it was strong.
Right there in the kitchen.
When you asked her about it, what'd she say it was?
I didn't ask her.
Oh, you just remembered it.
Yeah, but she mentioned the smell herself.
What'd she say about it?
I said she's trying to get the smell out of the room that was coming from the sewers down below. She said she shampooed the carpet numerous times.
And I say how many times?
She said 8 or 10 times.
Okay, and then nothing.
Nothing.
Then when did Bert move in? Was Bert already staying there?
Yeah, Bert was there. He's been there quite a while.
Okay, so then Ben ends up, and then how long after that does you see Mr. Montoya disappear?
It was probably 2 months.
2 months ago.
Because it's been about 2 months ago. Yeah.
And when did you last see him?
I'm trying to think if I saw him on Friday night. I believe I saw him on Friday night, and then Saturday he was gone. Because he mentioned it the first thing Saturday morning that Bert had left for Mexico. And I thought it strange that she would, he would leave that early in the morning for Mexico. Because I had my car, and I've always offered, to do trips for her to save her cab fare. Mm-hmm. And once in a while she'll have me go to the store or something. And I thought if she's going to send him to Mexico, she would probably ask me to take him out to the depot. But she never said anything to me. She just said that she's sent to Mexico.
After police returned to Dorothea's property, they started to dig up her backyard. She even provided an extra shovel. Then she asked if it would be okay if she went to buy a coffee. The police said yes and started to dig. The police dug up 78-year-old Leona Carpenter and then 6 more bodies. During the second day of the law enforcement search of her grounds, Dorothea Puente vanished. She had packed a bag during the time in between the initial questioning about the missing Bert Montoya and the search warrant that allowed police to dig up her yard looking for bodies. A nationwide manhunt took place looking for Puente, and the FBI were called in. She was later found at a hotel in Los Angeles where she was staying under the name Dorothea Johnson. Puente had hidden out for days without ever leaving her room. She got bored and went to a local bar where she introduced herself to an older man as Donna. He became suspicious, recognized her from the news footage, and alerted the police. Charged with a total of 9 murders, Puente was flown back to Sacramento. On her way back, she insisted to reporters that she hadn't killed anyone, claiming, "I used to be a very good person at one time." The 7 bodies was identified as Betty Palmer, Leona Carpenter, James Gallup, Bert Montoya, Benjamin Fink, Vera Ray Martin, and Dorothy Miller. Ruth Monroe was Puente's first known murder victim, and, prior to that, her friend and partner in the rental business. Monroe moved into an apartment that Puente was renting out in the early 1980s. In April of 1982, Monroe was found dead in her bed. Her cause of death, a lethal overdose of codeine and Tylenol. Puente told the police Monroe was depressed, and they ruled her death a suicide despite the lack of a note. Puente inherited $6,000 from Monroe's estate. Later it was ruled that Dorothea poisoned her. Everson Gilmouth was one of Dorothea Puente's elderly suitors. He wrote to her while she served time in jail for fraud, and he died shortly after she was paroled. His actual cause of death is unknown, which is not helped by the fact that his body sat in a wooden box on a riverbank until he was finally found by a fisherman. Gilmouth's body then sat unidentified for 3 years, while Puente continued to cash his pension checks and send his family members letters supposedly written by him. The 7 deaths were either caused by medication overdoses or suffocation. However, numerous other people came forward to claim that their loved ones went missing while in Puente's care. The amount of people killed by her might be as high as 25, 4 years after her 1988 arrest on charges of murder. Dorothea Puente's year-long trial finally began. The prosecuting attorney, John O'Mara, had 130 witnesses testify against her and explained the nature of her crimes to a jury. He claimed that Puente would drug her boarders with sleeping pills and then suffocate them with pillows while they were knocked out. The defense, on the other hand, brought out Puente's long-lost daughter, described Puente's sad upbringing, and pointed out that she took on boarders that no one else wanted, hoping to dredge up sympathy. In the end, Puente was found guilty of 3 murders, and she received 2 life sentences. On March 27, 2011, Dorothea Puente died. She was serving out her multiple life sentences at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla at the time of her death. She was 82 years old and had spent the last 18 years at the prison. According to officials, she died of natural causes and proclaimed her innocence up until her last breath, insisting that all of the people buried in her yard died of natural causes.